There we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to March 11th, Baltimore County Delegation meeting. I'm Delegate Pat Young. Short agenda today. And first, in terms of a panel, we have a briefing from the Baltimore College Town Network with Alexander Wallace and Christy Brinley. Welcome, and whoever is going to go first, go ahead and start.
Great. Thank you so much, Delegate Young. It's truly a pleasure to be with you all this morning. My name is Kirsten Brinley, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Baltimore College Town Network. I really am just here to tell you all about the work that we do and some of the initiatives that we've been supporting over the course of the current legislative cycle. Baltimore College Town Network was established in the late 90s by our colleges and universities to help those organizations share resources and to address shared challenges, particularly how we promote the Baltimore region to prospective college students, transportation, and also how the colleges and universities share resources with one another. We focus on three main areas: attracting college students to the region, engaging college students in Baltimore while they're students, so internships, engaging in civic organizations, nonprofits, local government, and then also helping them to find ways to stay after they graduate. So we are really, again, focused on kind of that full college pipeline of getting them into our institutions, engaging them in the city and the county while they're here, and then keeping them in Baltimore after they graduate. I did want to bring to your attention a couple of programs that we've launched in the last few years. So one is the Baltimore College Town and Gown Tour. It takes high school counselors, so the folks that are helping to educate high school students on what colleges they should go to. It brings them to the Baltimore region. They tour our campuses in 4 days, and then they go back to their institutions and help students find what college they want to go to. And we have been tracking the results of that program over the last 5 years. And we've brought over 1,200 students to Baltimore County institutions specifically. So Towson, UMBC, Stevenson, and Goucher are all partners in that program. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that you know that your colleges and in your neighborhoods are a part of that program and are helping to showcase how wonderful Baltimore County is for prospective college students. We also, for the last 20 years, have been operating a shuttle. So our shuttle goes from Penn Station up to the Towson Town Center. We also go to the Towson Place Shopping Center as well as Kenilworth. We have worked very closely with the county as they've launched the Towson Loop to make sure that our route makes sense with the county's new route. And so we only operate our shuttle that essentially duplicates the route on Sundays when the loop is not running. So we have been partners in transit for the last 20 years. We are advocating for more Baltimore-focused transit studies this legislative cycle because many of our universities operate their own private shuttles, which I'm sure you have seen on the roads. And there's a lot of money that universities invest in transit. There's a lot of money that local governments invest in transit, and it still is not meeting the needs of our students. Our students still say that transportation is the #1 challenge of the Baltimore region, higher than crime, higher than jobs. It's the #1 challenge for students. And so really addressing that transportation gap is a priority of ours because it's a priority of our students. I also wanted to bring to your attention, and this is kind of our last major program that I think is important for you all to know, is that we also have a shared academic agreement between our campuses that allows students to take classes at other colleges. The Community College of Baltimore County is a member of our network, so this does extend to community college students, so it allows them to take up to 8 classes in their college career at another institution within the College Town Network. And so our network includes public and private institutions, so it goes beyond the USM interinstitutional agreement. And the transfer platform work that's happening this year in the legislative cycle would help to educate our colleges and universities on how to best advise our students, and our agreement is a part of that advising process. So I just wanted to lift up that work as well, that we do really help to make students connect to the programs that they want to connect to. So ROTC is a huge one that our students use for cross-registration, the Baltimore Student Exchange, as well as language learning and other specialty programs. So with that, I will pause and answer questions. I see a raised hand and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Sure, and Kristen, is Alexander Wallace also going to be talking?
Alex, happy to have you jump in. Alex is our representative from the ZNC firm. So Alex, happy to have you jump in as well.
No, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm just here to support Kirsten.
Mr. Wallace, did you mute yourself?
Oh, yes, I was done, Mr. Chair.
Oh, got it. No worries. Just wanted to make sure. So we have a question from John Carden. Delegate Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you guys for everything that you do. And I'm excited. I think that you're going to be honoring one of our own, President Urbowski, later, maybe this month. And you really do a great job of coordinating such great efforts. My question is, you talked about the biggest challenge being transit. Is that because, or do you know if that's because many students or most students that have this issue are commuting because they can't afford on-campus housing? Or is it because they want to be able to get around to different colleges, campuses, and locations from the college that they're at?
That's a great question. And the answer is both. So in 2019, we studied our own shuttle operations. So just looking at the lines that we operated, and we asked students where they were going and what destinations they would like to go to. And for Towson University students, they were primarily using our shuttle to get to off-campus housing. And we obviously shared that information with Towson University. They've been a longtime partner of both College Town and the shuttle. And so they worked with us to help address some of those off-campus housing issues and also added their own TU shuttles to address, off-campus housing. The other students and riders really use the shuttle to get to part-time jobs. So if you think about, all of the development that is in Towson, at the mall, at Towson Place, those businesses are largely staffed by college students. So they're going to their part-time jobs at the mall or at Towson Place, or to the development that's around Penn Station or around Hopkins University. So the getting to part-time jobs was a huge number one challenge. And then being able to take classes at other institutions means that you have to have a way of getting there. So for Goucher College in particular, there are many students that take courses at Johns Hopkins and use the Baltimore Student Exchange and the shuttle to do that. So those are kind of the three primary reasons, and you touched on all of those.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions for folks from the College Town Network? I have one. Just wanted to, and I know you kind of touched on too, in terms of expansion and where you're going from here in Baltimore County. What are your plans? What's your expectations, and how can we be helpful and also leverage the fact that we know we have college students in some of our districts and your services and connect them to you?
We are really interested in expanding the College Town and Gown Tour. That again is our admissions focused program. We would like to expand our capacity. Currently, we can only invite 30 high school counselors, and we invite folks from across the country. We've also had international counselors as well. We've started to offer a virtual option, of course, because we couldn't have in person in 2020. So we had a virtual conference in 2020, and then a virtual and an in-person for 2021. We're planning to do the same for 2022, but we would really like to have a Maryland-focused town and gown tour. So bringing counselors from the state to make sure that they know the opportunities. We know, obviously high schools, out in Western Maryland or in St. Mary's County may not know about Goucher, may not know about Stevenson, may not know about much about Towson or much about UMBC or even CCBC. So how do we educate folks within the state? That's an area that we're looking to grow. We also would like to really expand what we can offer to students in terms of internships, industries, and understanding where our graduates go. For a number of years, we've been looking at how we can redesign our website. We're taking on that work this year. So we have a one-stop shop for businesses to post internships on our website. And all of our career centers are notified when new internships are posted. It's a great place for students to search for internships as well, because it's all Baltimore area based internships in one place. But of course, technology has improved since the last time we updated our website. So there's this new platform called Handshake. We want to make sure that our platform works with Handshake. So those are some tech investments that we're making with our internship platform. And we also would really like to do an economic development study to understand where our graduates go. We know from MHEC what degrees our students are leaving our colleges and universities with, but we don't necessarily track where they go after graduation as a region. Our, obviously colleges and universities are looking at their abilities for their students to get jobs after graduation. But as a region, I don't think that we have collected that data and really looked at it. And I think that that could be a huge benefit to local government and to the business community to say to prospective businesses, hey, we've got great computer science graduates right here in Towson, and to really sell and, position Towson, Baltimore County as a great place for both businesses, but also for students to get great jobs.
Thank you. And see a question from Delegate Brooks.
Hi, thanks, Mr. Chair. Hey, thanks, Kristen, for the presentation. Speaking of transportation, I've got 3 kids that ended up at Towson and graduated from there. And one of the problems, if my memory serves me correct, that they experienced was parking. That they were commuters, and that was a major problem at that time. I'm sure that enrollment has increased, and I'm sure that maybe that problem has exacerbated as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think everyone who's ever been on a college campus knows how challenging parking can be, and Towson, UMBC have both seen increases in enrollment over the last couple of years. So I know that that is still a challenge. And if there are opportunities or ways for us to reduce the number of cars on the roads, because there is a good public transportation option, I think that we all should get behind that for sure. And I do just want to mention to Delegate Cardin's point that, yes, we are having a reception on April 19th. It will honor Dr. Freeman Herbowski. He is one of our founding presidents. So he helped to establish the Baltimore College Town Network in the late 90s. And so we're honoring him. All of our presidents have been invited. Baltimore County Executive Johnny O will be speaking. You all, I think, should have gotten an invitation. If you did not, please feel free to contact me, because you all are on our guest list, and we would love to celebrate President Herbowski with all of you as well.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any further questions for the folks from College Town Network? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It was truly a pleasure, and I hope that you all have a wonderful start to your weekend.
Right. So as we have no bills to hear, we'll be moving right into our voting session. And first bill on the list, HB 749, Natural Resources Maryland Park Explorers Grant Pilot Program. Delegate Guyton. Moving to the subcommittee chair, Delegate Cardin.
Yeah, let me
No worries.
hold on if you give me 1 second. Let me just do that so I can get on screen. There we go. Okay. So this was, remind me the bill.
HB 749, Natural Resources Maryland Park Explorers Grant Pilot Program.
Right. This is the bill that Delegate Guyton introduced that I think almost everybody wanted to, or at least many people wanted to be co-sponsors. We did draft, I believe, the amendment to put people on who wanted to be co-sponsors. However, I have to ask staff whether that amendment was actually passed or whether we need to pass that in delegation.
Sure.
This bill did pass unanimously out of the subcommittee, and I believe, however, that Delegate Mangione did have a question. I don't know if he wanted to raise it now, but it passed out unanimously. I would move it favorable.
Is there a second on the favorable?
Second.
And stand by. Delegate Mangione.
Thank you, Delegate Cardin, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, I think I just had two quick questions after reading because I didn't have enough time for the subcommittee vote. And I think I understand, of course, the intent of the bill, which I 100% support, to get more youth out to enjoy the outdoors, I guess you could say, and off video games, et cetera. But number one, I guess it's the first point in the fiscal note says target youth populations with minimum access to green space in an effort to bridge socioeconomic and resource gaps through free, accessible, and conveniently located programming. I guess if whoever the sponsor or could just kind of explain a little bit on that part. And then the last part, which says incorporate local history and cultural impacts to highlight the diverse cultural contributions to current social events and developed histories. I didn't quite understand the connection there with trying to encourage youth to get in the outdoors.
Sure. Delegate Guyton.
Sure. Thank you, Delegate Mangione. I appreciate your
thank you.
question. I'm not sure the first, am I muted?
No,
You're on.
Oh, sorry. I heard a lot of people talking. This program was put together by Baltimore County Rec and Parks and brought to me in that form, but I'm not sure what the question is for the first portion. We are going to prioritize the grant money and the programming to people who don't have access to green space. I mean, that is, having choosing kids for the program, if you have many who apply, who actually live right next to a park, doesn't make a lot of sense for a program like this. So that's what the first part is about. The second part is about incorporating different things in our community that are historic in nature. So in our district, it would be something like the Phoenix Mill area, and you would explain how that all came to be. It just depends on what part of the county they're actually in, would determine what sort of cultural and historical issues that they would cover.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just to remind everybody that the program did come from the county, and the county, the department has has the agenda. They will set the agenda once we give it to them. And there's very small, it's the fiscal note in terms of the cost is minimal.
Sure. And just for informational purposes, Anne Arundel County passed this pretty unanimously this morning as well.
It was unanimous.
So I guess real quick, thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks. The fourth part, you cleared that up, Delegate Guyton, so I appreciate that. But the first part, so if there are people or youth, I guess, outside of the area where the green space is, are you going to target them by providing transportation, or how is that? And that's my last question. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Delegate Mangione. As Delegate Cardin pointed out, the county really is developing this program. They haven't done it yet. So I'm not sure the answer to those specifics. I don't know if someone from the county is here who wants to speak to that.
Thank you.
Joel, I don't know if you're prepared to answer that, but.
I am not quite prepared to answer that. I'm happy to follow up with Rec and Parks. I think as Delegate Cardin alluded to, these are sort of general outlines that I don't think the specifics have been set yet, just sort of broader policy goals of the program that, we need to drill down in once the program's in place. But I'm happy to follow up with Rec and Parks to see if I can clear up sort of what they were going for with that language.
Great. Thanks, Joel. A question from Delegate Shalega.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I guess I'll just go a little bit further, tagging on to Delegate Mangione, just for the public record. And Joel, as you're listening to this, it's great. I love the bill. It's great that we're going to make sure we're including kids that live in the more urban parts of our county, but please don't exclude kids who don't live in that area. My district, and I know Delegate Mangione's, is more suburban and rural, and our kids want access to this great program as well. So I just want to make that known for the record. It's great that we're making sure we include kids in the more urban area, but don't exclude the other kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And just to confirm with the sponsor, the bill prioritizes but doesn't exclude anybody, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely. And certainly my district is also the same as Elliott Mangione, so very rural. But we certainly want to give those opportunities to children who just don't have them if we can do so. So thank you so much.
And Mr. Chair, it passed unanimously out of subcommittee.
Understood. Unanimously out of the subcommittee. There's been a motion, favorable motion in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the bill passes. Moving to,
Chair.
Mr. Chair,
oh, sorry, Delegate
I
Ruth.
thought we were moving the amendment into the bill, so maybe I'm off, but I was not in
So, yeah.
subcommittee. I did send a email. I'm not sure if it was in time to be included, so I wanted to be sure
I know
that
that,
as that amendment is being written,
Yep.
that I'm included on it.
so I know that Delegate Cardin had referenced an amendment. I don't have an amendment. However, there's nothing wrong with this going to the full committee and adding a sponsor amendment. It won't have to come back to us. We'll be fine with that.
I'll make sure, Mr. Chair, that the sponsor amendment, I'll talk to Delegate Guyton. We'll get the full list of all the people and we'll get it to the committee.
Mr. Chair, could I even ask, maybe while we're all here, that we could find out who doesn't want to be a sponsor, and that might be the simpler way to go.
Sure. Is there anyone here that does not want to be a sponsor of Delegate Guyton's HB 749? Does not want to be a sponsor?
You
I'm going
could,
to
you
assume
could
Delegate
redact,
Roots.
you could redact me, Mr. Chair.
Got it? One. And I'm going to assume Delegate Ruth's hand is for a question, not that she wants to be off the bill.
that's correct, Mr. Chair. I do want to be a sponsor.
We will redact Delegate Kramer.
Mr. Chair, I want to vote for the bill, but I don't want to be a sponsor.
Understood. And Delegate Mangione.
And me.
And Delegate Jalisi. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Delegate Ruth, did not see your hand, but if you have a question or comment related to the bill.
And Delegate Long, please.
Delegate Long too. Thank you, sir. We've got the list. Barb's got it. And go ahead, Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that this bill is in my subcommittee and we need the delegation letter before we can vote on it. So the quicker we can get that, the better. Thank you.
Yep, that will come after the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. HB 910, Baltimore County Public Schools Air Quality Testing. Going to the subcommittee chair, Delegate Eversole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee met, considered the bill. There was an unfavorable motion which was supported by the committee. So I move unfavorable on behalf of the committee, subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Delegate Butler.
Yeah, I'd like to understand, this bill passed out last year in the same format and we had worked this out with Baltimore County. And last year, the superintendent and all, they opposed this bill last year as well. We're talking about the health of our kids and our teachers in the school and the right of parents to know what is going on when they're doing these air quality testing. And I think that, you know, this delegation, it passed out last year. There wasn't a problem with what we worked out. And I'd like to see us move favorable on this bill.
Excellent. Thank you, Delegate Butler. It's been an unfavorable motion. There was a second. We're in discussion. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I actually had a long conversation with Tony Bazemore about this because I do think it's important for parents to know. However, I as someone who has been, you know, a website developer and an IT person, I'm not sure we should be mandating website stuff in law. You know, so Tony did tell me that they can't do it immediately because they're still dealing with, I guess, the fallout from, you know, the issues last year, but that they are definitely moving towards, you know, putting as much of this information on as they can when they can. You know, I don't think it's necessary to put this in law, but I do think it's really important that we share air quality data and, you know, obviously the health of students and teachers is very important to me.
Mr. Chair.
Stand by, Delegate Bowler, Delegate Jalisi.
I just want,
You muted yourself, sir.
oh, sorry.
I just wanted to find out if I can find out why this was voted unfavorable this year when it was passed last year, if nothing has changed.
Chair of the subcommittee.
Largely, the objections of the Baltimore County administration. Also, the fiscal note indicated a cost that might be as much as, and probably would be as much as under this bill, $5,000 per school. If you multiply that by the number of schools and assuming that you wouldn't discriminate and you would test schools fully, maybe not in a year, but maybe you would, the total cost comes to nearly $800,000 as opposed to a little over $100,000 with the IAC testing that exists right now. This concerns me because, and I concern the committee as well, because this places an extra burden on Baltimore County schools that other schools in the state don't have. I know there's a statewide bill, and I would probably support that because that would place the same demands on other school systems as our own. I don't believe Baltimore County should be singled out, and I don't believe the committee did either.
But is this different from what you passed last year? Or is it the same fiscal note, the same amount per school?
I haven't compared them. We took up this bill this year. If you'd like to compare them and make a statement to that effect, I'd be happy to hear it.
No, the sponsor is here. He can answer it.
Yes,
I think he's already indicated that he believes that's true.
Mr. Chair.
Stand by.
This bill is
Delegate Bowler, stand by for 1 second. I'm not excluding you 1 sec.
So I believe that in answer to Delegate Jalisi's question, Mr. Chair, or not?
Yeah, but one clarification. When you mentioned the administration, you meant BCPS, correct?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Did you have one more?
I think the sponsor's already indicated that he believes they're in the same form.
Got it. Delegate Bowler.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is the exact bill that we passed out last year. I want to remind everybody that the bill does not mandate that they have to test every single school. This is when the school board determines that an air quality test must be taken. So this $800,000 fiscal note is just not true. I would also like to point out that several counties, Howard County, Montgomery County, already have been doing this. So there is no reason for us to do this. And it makes no sense to me, the argument that, well, this is going to cost $800,000 when the subcommittee chair indicated that, well, I'll vote for the bill that would make it statewide. I think we need to take action now. We don't know if that bill will pass. And if that bill doesn't pass, then here we go another year without anything being done. And this idea that, well, they're still working on the website, that's fine. When they finish, they can implement this.
Thanks, Delegate Bowler. Once and stand by. Joel, we usually don't offer questions. Did you have a clarification point to make?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. You already made it, Mr. Chair.
That's what I thought. No worries.
Yep.
Delegate Guyton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing. Thank you for bringing this bill. I do think it's a really important issue, Delegate Bowler. The reason that I think many of us are concerned about voting for this bill is that I know that I have also looked into this with Baltimore County Public Schools, and I've been told by Mr. Bazemore and others that the bill may be the same as last year, but the response of the county is not. And so that is the difference. The bill's the same, but in the meantime, the county, I've been told, is actually doing all of this and in the process of implementation. The biggest difference and problem that they seem to have with the bill is that the bill is requiring them to use a certain type of contractor to do this when they have people on staff who can already do it and do it much less expensively. So that's the reason I'm not voting favorably on the bill, is because I feel like it is really duplicating efforts that are already happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Guyton. Delegate Shalega.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So for the sponsor of the bill, my understanding of this bill, it's just a transparency issue that they're already testing. Is this right? And then this just makes sure that the county posts the results up for parents to see. Am I right, Delegate Butler?
Absolutely. That is all that this bill does, is brings transparency to this. We've had situations at Parkville Middle School and some other schools, and the parents were not even alerted to what was going on. and I think this is shameful for this delegation, is that you want to support a statewide bill, but you're not willing to support something that deals for Baltimore County and the parents and the teachers and the students. It makes no sense to me, because a statewide bill will put the same so-called $800,000 fiscal note on the county. I don't believe that is the correct fiscal note, but this makes no sense to me. We need to take action on this, and we should do it now. Thank you.
Well, I actually wish you had gone a little bit further and required the county to notify in writing by mail the students, the families that live in those, that attend those schools, because you are right. Parkville Middle is the poster child for why we need this bill.
Thank you, Delegate Shalega. There's been an unfavorable motion. There's been a second. I'm going to do a roll call. Delegate Erickson. Excused. Delegate Belcastro.
Yes on the unfavorable.
Delegate Bhandari on the unfavorable.
No.
Thank you, Delegate Bodler.
No.
Delegate Brooks on the unfavorable.
Aye on unfavorable.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol.
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
No.
Got it. Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Hill.
No.
Delegate Impalaria.
No, on the unfavorable.
Delegate Jackson.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Jalisi.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Long. Delegate Long. Okay. Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate
Delegate
Metzger.
Long, no.
Got it. Thank you, Delegate Long. Delegate Metzger.
No on the unfavorable.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
No on the unfavorable.
No. Chair votes yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mr. Chairman.
Stand by. 12 in favor of the unfavorable motion. The motion passes. Yes, Delegate Hill. Was it Delegate?
That's fine. Never mind. Thank you.
Got it. Moving to, excuse me, our bond initiatives for the delegation. And now I'm throwing it to Delegate Hill. Sorry.
No, that's fine. We have a revised version of the document that I hope everyone would have received this morning. And the subcommittee met yesterday and voted to ask that the delegation send a letter to the Appropriations Committee with the document that has been distributed and the priorities as designated in that document. So I would move that we advance the LBIs for Baltimore County as has been distributed to the group.
So as we've done the last 4 years, so this is the 4th year that we've done this, we'll move them as a consent calendar if there are no objections to that. But before we do, are there anyone that has, as long as you've seen the document, if anybody has anything that they would like to pull out to vote on separately, you can mention that now. I see Delegate Shalega, if you have a comment or a question.
Yeah, I'm going to go find the document. Thank you.
Got it. Delegate Jalisi.
I have not received the document. I just checked my email as we are speaking. So I'm assuming there's not a major change since the last version, but I just wanted the body to know that I have not received it.
We received yours and they're on the document.
Okay,
If,
thank you very much.
yeah. Gotcha. So, and Delegate Jalisi, just to confirm too, making sure that your projects are listed on the document, correct?
They are. She just confirmed it.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and I've numbered them too.
Understood.
Thank you.
Delegate Grammer.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it was sent very early this morning, so you might have to look in early hours.
Thank you. Yeah, we sent it yesterday and then there were some revisions because When I looked through some of the emails, there had been some that had been sent in that had been missed and not added to the document. And I also need clarification where some had been missed. So do look and make sure that you're comfortable with how you're represented.
And generally, Delegate Hill, it was, there were a few that might have been missing, but it was really just numbering in terms of
Correct.
scores. Yes.
Correct.
So the list from before had them, but they just weren't scored. The one that's received today is in the right scoring.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Long.
Yes, I did receive her email yesterday. I did not get her email from early this morning. Was anything added or subtracted or just in order of the priorities?
The order was not changed. There were some districts where I had not received or had received and not found their rankings. So they were added exactly as they had been sent. And there was one where there were 4 projects and only 3 had been ranked. And I've asked for clarifications from the staff of that delegate on what to do with that 4th one. And so that would be the only other change, and that would only affect that particular delegate. That would be the only potential change from what you have before you now, because I want to give everyone an opportunity to get their information in the way that they want it to be in.
Right.
So,
Could you please expand that information? I don't have nothing in front of me and I would like to know.
I don't want to speak. Those rankings are people, the district's own processes of coming up with it. And so I've emailed the person who I'm waiting for that clarification on, and have received information from their staff that they received that email. They're going to get clarification, and I don't think that I should share that with the rest of the group who that might be, if that's
Well,
okay.
the
So
only-
if you didn't get the email, your staff hasn't responded to me, then it's not you.
Right. Well, no. That's not what I was asking. What I was asking, what was added? That's all we needed to know. What was added? I'm not worried about the ranking as much as what was.
There were a couple of delegations where the email had been sent and my staff had not received or opened it. And so when I reached out to say I never got your ranking, they clarified for me that they had sent it. I was able to find it. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah, there were folks who had submitted and we did not have it. And before submitting a document where there were no rankings in their districts, I wanted to be sure that they meant to submit no rankings.
So it was the ranking change. It wasn't the addition.
Right. It was no change in the sequencing of the rankings.
Yeah. Okay.
They had not submitted one or I had not received it. And they clarified that they did have a ranking. That ranking was added to the document. There was no case where I or any member of the committee or any member of delegation staff changed anyone's ranking from what they had requested.
And the subcommittee had reviewed all of them and approved them for the delegation to be voted on consent calendar. We had seen all of the things on the sheet that the delegation has now was looked at by the subcommittee and approved yesterday.
Does that answer your question, Delegate?
Somewhat, but I'm fine.
Sure. Okay. Delegate Schlega.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Delegate Hill, for your hard work on this. And District 7 does not have any bond initiatives unique to District 7, but how would you like us to weigh in? Like, for instance, Perry Hall High School is, a 7 and 8, as well as Hereford High and Camp Patook. There's a few things on there that we want to make sure that we're known to be supporting. What is the best way for us to do that?
Okay, so that's I'm off the top of my head because we've not been asked that before, so we don't have a protocol for that.
Well,
I would suggest that you simply indicate that you are supportive of those particular projects.
Stan,
And
if I could-
go ahead,
Go.
Mr. Chair. Sure.
Delegate Schlegel,
Try
yeah.
to limit everything to just the folks who are in the districts where it's represented are the only rankings that we've.
Delegate,
Yeah.
Delegate
sorry.
Schlegel, are you asking that in previous years where if we were to hear the bill and then vote on it individually, that there would be showing that you voted for that particular project?
Yeah, no, I guess it's, if we're going to put a ranking and emphasis on certain projects, District 7 would, obviously, Perry Hall High, my son went there. So, while the school is in District 8, the kids that go there are in District 7 too, as well as Hereford High. We have a bunch of kids in Hereford High, so there's this crossover. So maybe this question is more for next year to make sure that District 7 gets a voice while we may not have a specific bond bill.
Oh, I see.
Our weight.
Right.
Like
If I
to
may,
put our
Mr.
weight
Chair, if I
behind-
may.
Sure. Delegate
If
Schlegel,
I-
I see what you're saying. I see what you're
If I may,
saying.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Hill, go ahead.
Thank you. So Delegate Chalega, prior to 4 years ago, we simply took them as a consensus and, supported every LBI. And I think the assumption is that we're supporting as a delegation, every LBI. We want to get the funds to come to the county. And so as we look at it for next year, I would suggest that, again, that we let the folks in the districts. In other words, we have one in my district, but I'm supporting everybody's everything, which is what we did before. And so I'm not sure there's a value in our individually stacking up to support certain districts over other districts. And
I don't mean it that way, but
Delegate Schlegel, I think I understand what you're saying. You have a project that crosses county lines. If you could have a discussion with those members to also show your support.
yeah, and what we'll do
I understand.
next year, and I should have, jumped in before right now. So, part of that's my oversight. But, we'll make sure next year in those kinds of instances that on the chart, you list District 7 with these bond initiatives that, are multi-districted so that, everybody knows that we're supporting them as well, because clearly there's not enough money for everything. So,
Sure. Got it. Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And one last question from Delegate in Polaria. You're muted.
An easy thing, Delegate Schlegel, if you'd like, you can just do a letter from you, me, and Delegate Ericon that we support these two bond initiatives and why, and just send it to the committee. And then we are on record as supporting them. I agree with you. There are many issues that go across, county lines that we would like to support and even district lines. So it's a good point, but there's nothing to stop us from sending a letter and anybody else in the delegation that wants to send a letter for that purpose. So.
excellent. That's an excellent suggestion, Delegate.
Thank you.
Everyone, there's without objection. We don't need a motion to second for consent calendar. However, all in favor of voting on the bond initiatives for Baltimore County as listed on the sheets in a consent calendar, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That's unanimously. Thank you, everybody. That ends the work for today. Thank you for the longer meetings leading up to here so that we'll have less business later in the session. And enjoy your found time and rest of the morning.